Welcome to Made for Mondays, the source for digging a little deeper into the Believers Church Sunday messages and finding ways to apply them to our daily lives. Together, let's take a deeper look and find a way to bring Mondays back to life.
Welcome to the pod. My name is Heather, and who are you, fellas?
Hey, y'all. I'm Tyler.
Hey, Tyler.
Back in action. Feels good to be back.
Love it.
Already made some mistakes, but we're good.
Yeah. Tyler was touching mics when he got in here. Yeah.
Yep.
We had to correct him.
Yeah. Feels good, though.
Sam's here.
Okay.
Guys, we all have Victory Mondays.
It's true.
All of our teams won.
Oh,
I
yes.
know.
Yes, we do.
What
Not fantasy
Sunday.
teams.
Well,
But
no,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
different.
My
teams.
fantasy
Yeah.
team is
not good.
garbage.
I feel
Garbage.
That. I feel you.
I have made more moves, trades, drops, ads
Nothing's
than
helping.
I ever have, and I cannot turn it around.
Wow.
I
Tough.
feel that.
Tough grind right now. We're in the middle of the season.
It's a tough grind.
Oh, man.
Got a home
it is
stretch, make the
awful.
playoffs. Hopefully, we'll see.
But for
Yeah.
me, it feels better when my actual
actual
team
team.
wins.
Right.
Yeah.
And my fantasy team loses. Like, it just helps kind of.
Yeah.
I thought for sure we were like done for the season.
Yeah, the
honestly,
Vikings,
the Vikings. Like when Kirk went out last week,
Tough.
I mean,
we're no good.
do y'all have Dobbins now?
Dobbs came back and
Dobbs.
played.
Dobbs
It
came
was
back.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had an awesome game.
He
That's-
practiced for like 12 minutes with the team this week because he got traded.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
People that
That's
don't
really
like
cool.
football are like, oh, wow, starting hot on this
I know.
podcast.
Well,
Yeah.
it was a good day.
Yeah, it was a great day.
Yeah.
Was.
Even though,
So what?
I was going
even
to
though
say, well, Tyler's team stole my team many
Many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Still
and we
little.
play each other this coming Sunday.
We do. Y'all got the Deshaun back
oh
though. So.
yes,
We'll see
and
what
you're
happens.
Look
gonna
good.
you're gonna be there.
I'll be at the game, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we're going. Me and my wife are going to Baltimore
Okay.
for the weekend.
What is the record of the Browns winning when you're there versus?
I actually have a pretty good record.
Okay.
Well, this is just recent history because we went growing up as a kid all the
Right,
time,
sure.
so I don't remember all those. But as a married couple, I don't think we've seen the Browns lose. They tied. They
Oh, wow.
tied the Steelers one game we went to, which was
I'm
crazy.
surprised you
Wow.
let that roll off your lips today.
Well, I have very low expectations. The Ravens are
Okay.
really good, so
We'll see.
I'm not expecting too much. I just
Okay.
don't want to get in any fights. So I'm going to keep it cool.
yeah,
There you
let's
go.
plan for that.
Let's, yeah.
What do you need to do this week to be in that mindset?
I'm not going to wear any Browns gear.
Okay.
I'm just going to
That's a good move.
blend into the stadium.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't cheer. Just like kind
Sell up fist pump.
like yeah.
Just a little-
I might not
yeah.
have to worry about cheering. Probably won't have to do that. But if for any reason that it would happen that the Browns do something good,
yeah.
I'll just internalize it.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Are you going to be able to do that?
No, not at
No.
all.
It's
I'm
like, I
painting
don't
my face.
believe
Everything.
anything that you're saying. Oh, man. Well,
That's
what
next
else?
weekend, though.
Yeah. What
Okay.
else did you guys do this weekend? Anything fun?
So we went to Dave Butler, great dude.
Yeah.
You don't know him? You got to meet him. He's a great guy. He gave us tickets to the ODU, Coastal Carolina game.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
We left at the end. It was a great game. So a lot of people getting much more into it than I ever thought you'd get into at an ODU game. It was awesome.
It's a fun experience.
It was very
Yeah.
fun. But we left at the end of the third quarter, start of the fourth. It was 6-14.
Whoa.
Went to dinner, checked it the next morning. They lost 28-24.
Wow.
Oh, man.
That
Were they
was-
winning?
They were.
They were winning. Okay.
Yeah. They were winning. Yeah. So, but it was fun.
Where did you go to dinner?
We went to dinner at Goji Guys. It's a Korean barbecue spot.
Oh, was
It
it
was
good?
really good.
Right in downtown Norfolk?
Right in Ghent, right next to that Aldi with that little strip
Oh,
mall
yeah.
with those. Yeah, it's right
Had
there.
you been there before?
We've been there once.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's all you can eat. So you're paying the price
Because
of
you
all you
were
can eat. But
you were preaching the next day, so that's a little risky.
that was a
going
little
new
risky.
place.
yeah.
Yeah.
A little risky. So we
Yeah.
didn't do that.
Okay,
But,
smart.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
Very
fun.
cool. What did you do?
appreciate
Oh gosh, what did we do this weekend?
Is Mason still playing football?
He is, yeah. He's got one more week of it. So he played on Saturday. I golfed on Saturday morning. One of our friends does a tournament every year. So we went. I was Heather with your husband Nate.
Yes.
So that was fun. Really slow, and we got there super early. And the fog on Saturday morning
It was ridiculous.
It
was
was
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm not a meteorologist. You guys know that.
Yeah, but
Yes.
thank
So-
you for
Thank
clarifying.
you. Yeah.
I don't know how that works,
Yeah.
but it was wild.
It's-
So we had like an hour delay before we could
I
play.
was gonna say, what do you
and-
do? Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
you can't play. Yeah.
So we did that, and then it got home, and Mason had his game. Just a lot going on. Something happened this weekend that made me feel even older.
Oh.
I had a milestone. I was excited. The family went out. I was watching football. Saturday night, they come home. No, that's not true. We were watching football yesterday, and a knock on the door. It's the Amazon. And Jamie comes in. She says...
It's the Amazon?
The Amazon. Okay. Jamie says, hey, the kids and I got you a gift.
Oh, wow.
And it was an ear and nose hair trimmer. So apparently I've reached that stage in my life.
I like that the family was having like private meetings about
Yes,
this.
they
Like,
had
how
talked
are
about
we
it,
going to do this?
1,000%.
We have to, an intervention for dad.
The guys
Like,
out to lunch have said that because I'll be driving when we go out, and Lee has mentioned it several times. Like, bro, you gotta take a look at some of that. Your ears are getting a little rough. And I was like, really?
Oh, I was wondering if it was the nose situation or the ear situation.
I think it was more, I don't know.
I think it was more ears.
I don't know.
More ears?
But I will say there was a problem. Okay. I was having a problem. So I appreciate the people in my life
to care about you
that will speak into it. And, and I'm back. And I didn't believe them. But when that thing got going, it was like, it was clipping at a pretty high rate of speed. What are we talking about right now? Anyways, I just meant to share just a little part
Tyler,
of that.
you're significantly younger than Sam.
Yes,
so how does hearing this make you feel?
This is what you have to look forward to.
What are you
I don't want to look forward to
right
it.
now?
I know.
I just kind of want to say, okay, I know it's coming.
Yeah.
So I might want to get it now. So I'd be,
I think it's better just to live that it's not going to happen.
Okay.
Just don't acknowledge it.
Okay.
And hopefully
First
the
of
people
all,
in your life someday.
I know that your wife, Karina,
she's gonna be
will
on that.
not play.
Oh, yeah, she'll
There's
let
no
go.
playing with that.
If there's any spot, speckle, she's on it.
Smart.
So
That's nice to have.
yeah,
it took me to almost 40 that my family was finally like,
eating it.
we got to do something about it.
Okay.
So here we are.
Yeah.
But
I get that.
I feel fresh.
Okay.
I think I'm breathing a little bit better. So here we are. That was my weekend.
So would you say that you're very comfortable, like now that you've put it out there to the Made for Monday universe, that you welcome their input on this? Like if someone sees something a little awry, should they be?
I think so. I think I'm pretty open with that. Like,
Okay.
I've always been something in my teeth, something.
Let me know.
You see something.
See something, say something.
Yes.
That's what we say.
I ripped my shirt yesterday. Had no idea.
Like
Back here.
okay.
I ripped it and didn't know till after service. So I don't know if anybody noticed that yesterday, but nobody said anything until I was getting ready to leave and someone like a staff member saw it. So yeah, I'm definitely like, let me know.
Yeah.
I'd rather fix it before.
All right.
Yes. Yeah.
So do you have like a pocket situation where you're carrying around this trimmer? Like,
No, I
say
don't.
you were here on Sunday
I
and
used
something
it.
crazy's going on out of this ear.
Yeah, I used it yesterday, of course. And then I said to it, see you next Sunday. And then my wife said, you mean Wednesday. So I don't know if this is a bi-weekly thing or monthly.
This is like new territory for you
we're just
too, because
rolling.
you're not like, you don't have to shave a ton.
Not a lot. No, it's pretty crazy.
So it will be interesting to see if you have to ear and nose trim more often than you have to shave.
That's gonna be
I think
interesting.
it's possible.
Okay.
That is
I shave once a
disgusting.
week. I know, but
At least you're watching it though. You're on top of it.
Pastor
Get
Jamie's
things
going to be
going.
so mad when he listens to the beginning of this.
Whatever.
Yeah, you're not here. We can talk about whatever we want.
Right. Okay. I have a fun new place to tell you guys about.
Okay, good transition.
Yes.
Saturday morning, I had brunch with my oldest son, Spencer, and we went to this new place on North Collie called The Bird.
Okay.
And they will be open like an all-day situation soon. They're still waiting on their ABC license. But right now, they are open for brunch lunchtime.
Okay.
And
It's a steak place, obviously.
is the coolest. It is just such a fun vibe.
Okay.
They have great. It's right across from Kogan's on the north end, if you know where that is. So
I do.
That is.
there's a lot of great places down there.
Yeah.
But the Bird is like sort of vintagey. It's got like really dark green walls inside. They have a really cool like sit-up bar area, a couple of chairs, like vintage couch and chairs to the one side where you could just like sit and have a coffee or sit and have a drink or whatever. And then a few tables. And then they also have an outside space where you can
really cool.
sit. And Spencer got the colonial eggs Benedict. And so they make their
Not
own
runny.
spicy in-house bacon jam.
Wow.
And so the English muffin, the bacon jam, the bacon, and then the egg on top. And that was served with like their house fry things. And he said it was amazing.
Sounds
It looked delicious.
Yeah.
And then I got, because I love trying this at breakfast places, their chicken and waffles.
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
And it was incredible.
Is that like
Okay.
their,
That's all I need to know.
is chicken their big thing?
I guess they're, yeah.
called the bird, I assume that?
I think
Okay.
so, yeah. But it was great. They had like, I love a simple menu.
Yes.
So a 1-page menu for brunch, you flip it over, late night menu for the back. It was just a very good
Okay.
experience. So
Okay.
go
That's
give
great.
them some love.
Yep.
It was a great experience.
Bird.
The Bird on North Collie.
Sounds
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
I will try that out.
And you can follow, I think on Instagram, their handle's The Bird VA.
Okay.
So they're posting some
On the
really cool
gram.
things right now. Yeah, that's right.
Very good.
So you guys, we haven't talked about this for a minute, but wondering if you had anything stand out to you recently from our Bible reading challenge.
It's
Yes.
been so nice. I know
It is
you're
nice.
next. I know what's going to happen next.
Just will you
we'll
focus?
Stick with, we'll stick with this. I knew you were going to ask this today. I felt like we were going to talk about it. So yesterday was kind of, it's just like Paul being grumpy at the end of Timothy. And he's asking for Tim to come join him.
Yeah.
Things to bring my coat. I left it, like all that stuff. I just feel like he's like, I got to wrap this book up. And I'm just,
Yeah.
this letter is I'm not happy right now.
Yeah.
This coppersmith just really messed with me. There's just a lot going on with Paul.
Yeah.
But it gave me the laughs yesterday a little bit as I was reading through it.
I do love when like Paul can be so encouraging and uplifting. And we're in the middle of Philippians for our
Yes.
series, which
Yes.
we'll get to in a
Yeah.
minute, which is like Paul being so joyful in
Yeah.
the worst of circumstances.
For sure.
And yet, like every once in a while through his writings, you're like, yeah, he's cranky.
He
He's
just
a real
gets a
dude.
little ornery.
He's a real guy.
He'd be real
It's-
cranky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
It was funny. So every time we bring this up or anybody asks about it, I get nervous because when I click my Bible app, I could do it right now. It takes me to a different verse every time. So right now,
Okay.
I'm in Thessalonians 4.
Okay.
So very different. I don't get why it's doing that. No idea.
I don't know what to
I
tell you.
don't know.
Yeah. So okay.
I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know what's going on.
Is something standing out to you in Thessalonians right now?
Yes, it did. Just looking to heaven. You know, sometimes
yeah.
we get in the day-to-day things, doing the thing and forget like one day Jesus is going to come back and be with them forever. So that was
Yeah.
just a good reminder.
Yep.
Yep. Love
We
that.
won't. Never mind. I was gonna go back to the nose and ear trimmer, but no,
We won't need it anymore. Hey, we won't need it.
We won't need it anymore.
What stood out to me this week was in 1 Timothy 6 when in verse 6 he actually talks about godliness with contentment is great gain. And that just I was like that tied it we were reading that when Jamie's message last week on contentment, and even if you go on in that chapter a little bit more, it really tied in so well to your message this week. And just that reminder again when Paul wasn't being cranky, because this
Right.
was in 1 Timothy.
Yeah.
And he was still
all right
being
now.
mindful of, just like being content with what we have, and that's where we kind of find
Yeah.
our joy. So cool to see that pattern throughout. It's not just in the book of Philippians that
Right.
we're reminded.
And
to
that's good too,
do that.
because even the upcoming messages coming up the next few weeks are really around that. And,
Yeah.
giving thanks all circumstances,
Yep.
that kind of stuff. It's
Really good. All right. So you are correct, Sam.
Yeah,
It
it's
has
been so
been-
nice.
So, no.
I don't even
That's
want to
not
ask.
what-
I don't even
no,
want to
no.
ask people to do this.
That's not
'cause-
what you're correct on. The correctness is that we haven't had a what the what question for quite some time. So either we have done the work of church leadership and everyone is just like
Take notes.
solid
Yep.
on their
We got it right.
faith walk. They know all the answers to
got
all
it
the
all.
questions,
Or
which is incredible. Or you're just not
Say it
submitting
together. They don't want to hear that.
So if you would like to ask us any questions, we are ready to talk about just about anything from the messages that are being spoken on Sunday mornings to maybe things that are coming up in your B groups, or you're hanging out with some of your impact team members and you guys are talking about some stuff. Whether it's about faith, culture, the Bible, anything, we would love to answer your questions.
Yes.
We like this to be more of a conversation, not just with the 3 or 4 people that are sitting in this room. So if you want to ask those, you can send them into madeformondays@believerschurch.org, and we will start answering your questions.
We'll just start making up stuff if you don't.
Yeah, we're going to start making up characters even.
Yeah.
Like people.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And questions.
Tommy wrote in.
Yeah. we will
wondering.
build our audience. It'll be great. All right. Well, this week we are in week 6 of our joy ride. That's hard to believe. 6 weeks already.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Crazy.
End of November. Big time.
I know.
Wow.
So we are talking about this week the idea of being down the road less traveled. Mm-hmm. And Tyler, you were the one that brought this week's powerful message.
Yep.
So you started off the message kind of going through a values test. Mm-hmm. Can you walk us through that? Just give us some of the examples that you had. And I would love to know how you felt like it went in the room.
Okay. I felt that it went in the room. I felt it went okay. I think I had more participation in the second service than the first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just a little bit more. But
First service was trying to
they were really
figure
thinking
out this
about it.
time
I was like,
thing.
y'all just
I
It
like,
was the
gonna
time
say-
thing messed them up.
yeah. The time. Oh, yeah.
They
yeah.
were a little sleep. They didn't know if they were supposed to be awake or if they were supposed to still be
Yeah,
sleeping.
that's
or
true.
I forgot to share this about the weekend. So I had a weird thing. Just pause that. You're going to talk about your comparison in a second. I woke up at 2:30 in the morning on Sunday morning.
Okay.
That's what time the clocks change.
2:30?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's what time it changes. Is that not right?
I have no idea.
Something like that. 2:33.
I thought it was 2:30.
Producer Jeremy says 2.
Okay, well,
Okay.
it doesn't matter because it does. In my brain, I thought it was 2:30.
Okay.
I see 2:30. I don't know if it's actually 3:30 or if the timer
Oh, you didn't know
geez,
which
yeah.
2:30 you were
So
in.
I felt like I got another extra hour in my brain.
Okay.
The math,
What?
the math works. The math
No,
plays.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if it was 3:30, I would have got my hour back. But if it was still 2:30, I knew I was still going to get an hour back when I got to 3:30. So in my brain, I didn't know.
But that's still just 1 hour.
No, not at 2:30 in the morning when
Sam's
I'm waking
brain.
up looking at the clock,
Oh, Samuel.
which was amazing.
But you felt good.
I felt
See, there you go.
awesome
That's-
Sunday
Wait,
morning.
did you
Okay.
just... Oh, you
I
went back to sleep.
Yes. And then I woke up and it was bright out.
Good to go.
I actually don't mind it. A lot of people are really upset about this time change stuff.
I thought we stopped it. That's
Well,
what-
Yeah.
they tried to.
Oh, okay.
Someone needs to stop it.
Arizona did.
I know.
Hawaii.
That's what Nate asked me on Saturday.
Yeah.
He was like, do you think that we could
is good.
just ask all of our friends in the 757
Just to start doing it.
to just don't do it,
don't do
guys. Just revolt. Don't turn your clocks. And then what would happen?
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot more important things we should try to do. Get everybody
Maybe
together
that's
to
a
do
start,
that.
though.
But that could be a good start. Like,
Listen,
hey,
community.
Like if
we
we
can't
can
agree on
be-
politics.
Right.
None of this stuff.
You know, a lot of
But can we
divisiveness.
unite
about this
around not
Daylight
changing the
savings.
clocks?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can get a rally around that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you could.
Yeah.
All creeds, all traditions, all ethnicities. Who
Yep.
wants this?
Time.
Nobody wants
Don't
to change
Nobody
our
wants
clocks.
to change. I actually do. I like it.
I don't. Why? Wait. Tell me why you like it.
I just told you. I feel like I got 2 extra hours.
No, but
it's
you
only
like
the
it
one
for
time
a
a year.
night.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Just go to bed earlier.
Well, spring forward stinks.
Yes.
It all
It's
stinks.
awful.
But when we fall back, like it's gonna be midnight dark at 3:00 this afternoon.
But you felt, I know yesterday was,
It got dark so
it was
fast.
playing with my head.
Yes.
It was
so
terrible.
much.
I thought I was supposed to be in bed sleeping at 7:02.
Yes. The 4:00 football game started and I thought it was the night game. Like I thought it was the
You're
Sunday
like,
night
we got
game.
4 more of these to do.
I was like, I have to watch another football game tonight. I'm never going to make it.
Okay,
Anyways,
back on track.
Yeah, sorry, Tyler. You started comparing things.
Your
Yeah.
value
The
test.
time
Yes.
thing. Time was there.
And
time
we
was won.
value time.
We do value time more than money.
Yep.
It was, what was it, the Gucci bag or Louis Vuitton?
Oh, yeah. Who won that?
Yeah. Louis Vuitton.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, Louis Vuitton won that.
Was it diamond and gold?
Diamonds and gold. Diamonds went out on that, pound for pound.
Yes.
Yeah, depending on the
pound
purity of
for
the
pound.
gold, whatever, all that stuff. And the last one, the one that I lost a lot of street cred for,
You did.
Oh boy.
was it's a house, nice neighborhood, looks like what you can see,
Yeah.
nice build, 3-bedroom, 4-bath. But then this card
Yeah.
is a holographic Charizard, 1999. So the first edition, mint level, number 10,
Yep.
300 grand right now for one of those bad boys.
Hey, how many are in production, do you think? Like, how many have been made? Do you know that?
I have no idea.
Because when I was
not
Googling
many.
trying to figure out your slides,
Yeah.
it seemed like a lot of people were trying to sell them. And I was like, if this is 300,000, how do
Why
people,
would you-
there's
yeah.
no way that many people have them.
So
So
there's
there
no
got to
way.
be some fakes out
That's why you
there.
got to go to the graders, get that thing,
Yeah.
the mint check, all
So
the things. Yeah.
my wife Jamie was producing yesterday, and she texted me during first service, and she said, "Hey, Tyler's just lost a lot of cool cred." So I hope it was worth it.
It was
but
worth it.
You've lost. Yeah, you're not as cool to a lot of people now.
Okay, I'll
But
try to
that's
gain
right.
it back.
You got to gain it back.
Yeah, I'll try.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, after you kind of like had some fun with all of that, you really walked us into what the big idea for the day was. And I loved this week because you repeated this big idea so many times.
Yes.
And it's
And
so
the memory verse.
it's so
You did
great. Like I loved it because even when people were like posting about it on social and stuff, they were posting using the big idea. So I was like, they got it.
Okay,
They know
yes,
what he
that's-
said.
There we go.
So the big idea was what you value holds your joy. Can you just kind of talk about how you arrived at that big idea?
It's always when you see Jamie or Heather or Doug or anyone preaching, one day maybe Sam will hop up there.
No,
we
you don't
know.
want that.
We don't-
They barely let me do this.
That's usually the hardest thing to come to is finding that. And so as I'm just looking at Paul, I'm just trying to see, like he's saying, you have joy this way, all the way up to this. Something can take it away, the legalism, which we'll get to. But what he looks at what I used to value, and then now what I hold on to, the value. I just kept thinking of hold and value. And I was just like, man, things we hold high, they sometimes can hold you
Yeah,
too. And so I just
that's
kind of
so good.
kept working that, and
Yeah.
then got to that. So thank God for the Holy
Yeah.
Spirit, because I don't know where it came
No,
from.
it was really
Yeah.
good.
But-
So yeah, you just mentioned this, but you walked us through Philippians 3:1-9a, and you acknowledged that this passage seems to take a bit of a turn from Paul's accolades and encouragement. So as we kind of set our talk today, can you just remind us like of a good working definition of legalism, and then who and what the Judaizers were trying to do? Because I think that's just not a term that we like hear a lot of. So
No,
just
yeah.
kind of tell us a little bit more about that.
No, this is good because it was funny. As I'm writing it, I'm looking at the clock, preaching. I'm like, man, I think I nerded out too long on the Charizard. Because by the time I have to kind of roll.
We're here to talk
So I
about
got
the Bible.
Yes, and I got here. I was like, oh my gosh. But the definition that I got from Wikipedia, I can't remember that off the top of my head. But legalism, I think it's anything that we do that we are trying to either earn salvation or maintain salvation. Is like salvation, God's love, like His favor. Anything that we're trying to do effort-wise to say, okay, if I do this thing, now you love me more, or now I'm saved. Anything like that is legalism, I would say.
Yeah.
And so the Judaizers, they come to town because they're Jewish Christians who have been doing this thing their whole lives, living the circumcision, living
Right.
the Old Testament covenant, all the
Yeah, the
laws.
rules, yeah.
The rules.
Yep.
And so they grew up doing those things. And so it's normal to them. So to tell those guys, now you're following Jesus, all those things are the old covenant. You have the new covenant now. You don't have to do those things. They kind of kept just doing the old things they used to do with the mindset that God is going to save you if you continue these things.
Yeah.
And so they come to the Gentiles and say, hey, especially you Gentiles who aren't circumcised, aren't doing these things, don't know anything about the Old Testament, you have to do it or you're not saved.
So would it be fair to say that the Judaizers were a sect of Christian Jews? Not necessarily all Christian Jews were still holding to that
No, yeah.
tight tradition, but
they were.
there was like a sect of them that would have been called the Judaizers. And then there was the Gentiles, and also just Christians that have come to know who Jesus is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So yeah, part of, you kind of just mentioned this with giving us the description of legalism, but I loved your Betty Crocker illustration because I think it makes it such a tangible, like what we end up doing with, even when it comes to our salvation. So the whole idea in that, if you want to revisit the story, but like the bottom line was that we try to add things.
Yes, we do.
To something that's already working.
It's already done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you just describe the Betty Crocker thing?
Yeah, so I can't take full credit for that. I heard it in a sermon one time. And I said, yep, I'm not forgetting that. I don't remember anything about the sermon, but I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. And it in 1950s, man, so now we have all these products you can take, put it like pancakes, brownies, cakes. You put the powder in a bowl, put some water in there, crack an egg, mix it up, boom. That's nothing to us, but back in the 1950s, that was a revolutionary thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And so Betty Crocker makes the thing. I don't know how to bake a cake, so I don't know what all the things go in there, but they made it, put all the things in the pot, you're done. And no one used it. No one wanted to use it until they took out just a piece to let us add something in, the little crack of the egg, put it in there. Everybody uses it. And then that's continued all the way up until now. It's pretty crazy.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about just who we are as people that we feel like we need to add things? Like we need to have that level of participation in something.
I mean, it's every single part of our lives is like that.
Yeah, it is.
Outside of faith.
So this kind of goes back to like the Judaizers, but also with this is wanting to add more things to it. Like I think of it, whenever I think of this, I think of parenting. And Andy Stanley did this talk about it where they had 2 rules in their family. And I think it was don't lie and respect your mom.
Mm-hmm. Be honest, respect your mom.
Yes, be honest and respect your mom. And you're like, well, that's only 2 rules. Like our kids need to have the whole thing. Like Nate Carl at his pool, he has 537 rules. Okay. And he makes the kids recite them when they get there about what they can do at the pool.
And they'll ask what number rule.
Yeah, what number was this? If they break a rule, you just broke rule number 332, right? So it has all that. I'm joking about that. But the thing is like, we overcomplicated it with all these rules, right? Mm-hmm. And we're trying to like follow all that stuff where the 2 things that Jesus gave us, love God, love others, it does everything. Yeah. So I think like legalism, even in your message, there is some negative connotation to it. But I think if you just got down to the like why most people would say they live within that is because they want to be closer to Jesus. Yeah. But it's like don't overcomplicate it because it's these two things. Yeah. We can do this. So I loved that comparison, like how you did that with the Betty Crocker thing too. Is like you can do a little bit. Yeah. You can put a little bit of this in there, but don't overcomplicate this thing. Yeah. Don't add more to it. Yeah.
That's so good. So a couple of weeks ago, Doug taught us about humility as per the usual.
Yes, he did.
And Jamie touched on that a little bit more last Sunday. And yet these verses that we're going through in this part of your message feel like Paul is like bragging about how awesome he is almost. So what gives there?
What was he doing?
Tell us what's going on.
I don't know. Well, maybe one day we'll ask Paul. Say, hey, Paul, what were we doing? I think, but the best way we could, I guess, take a crack at it is Paul. Like he's saying, okay, y'all think that these works matter so much. You think that it's all about you following these rules and all this stuff. Well, okay, if you think it's about that, I got you. I got you beat on everything. And he just lays that list out, saying, if you think it's about this, I had all of it, and I'm better than you at this. Yeah. However, now that I've met Jesus, none of this matters to me anymore at all. It is trash, rubbish, whatever word you want to use. Yeah. It's a lot. If you really want to go look up that word, it means something a little bit different. But that's just he's just trying to tell us none of these things matter to me anymore. Right. It's all about my relationship with Jesus.
Yeah, it's that whole thing in life. If you give someone the benefit of the doubt, like that's a good thing. Like it's going to protect you and all that things. So I think with Paul, we can give him the benefit of the doubt that he wasn't trying to be this like bragger. Yeah. It was like more of, he was trying to like get them to see like, this is how well you could be doing. And you're not even doing it as well as I am. Yeah. And I still need Jesus. Yes. Yeah. Like I mean, it's almost like a sermon illustration. Yeah. I feel like that's how I read it when Paul's saying that. So, yeah. But maybe not. Maybe he was just really bragging.
No, I think it is one of those things where he's trying to get our attention on how ego driven we are. Mm-hmm. Yep. Like we're just self-involved. We want to elevate self. And even in the things that we want to be doing that are good, there's always this sort of like, but how is it going to benefit me? Or what can I do to make this better? Like I have any ability to do that. Right. So yeah, I think it was more of just another reason why I love Paul. A little bit of sarcasm.
Yeah,
coming in hot.
2,000 years ago. Coming in.
So then, Tyler, you went over the do or do not do list. And I think this is so important for us to just kind of talk about for a little bit. And this is around the idea of legalism and kind of some of the examples. I'd like to see some of the examples we see today, because I think there has been some like forward movement in many churches that like you're not every church now. There's a mainstream church where you can like walk in jeans and t-shirts and you can, you know, a couple of the things that you mentioned, like long hair on dudes or whatever has become a little bit more acceptable in Christian circles. Yeah. But there are for sure still other things that we would say, like, you have to have this cleaned up. This has to be right before you're kind of like welcomed into like a Christian or a church fold. So what are some of the things that you guys are seeing today that would fall into that legalistic rules kind of space? Yeah,
I have a few. So even when I was thinking of that, I said, man, yeah, some of the examples I gave were kind of old. And I thought of even some of the ones that I grew up with. Like back where I grew up, there was a rule that the middle aisle was closed after the first prayer. Amen. And so you couldn't walk around the middle aisle and looking back, thinking like, why? What are we doing? I have no idea, but that's just a funny one. But like today, especially for me, drinking, like alcohol consumption was a huge one for me. Like that was, if you so much as even look at a bottle of wine, you might as well be a heretic. God doesn't love you. That's how I treated it. You know, tattoos, I think can still trip people up, those kind of things. Y'all got any more? I'm trying to think of some more, but
mine's like more like the spiritual side of things. Like I don't know. Like for me, like around the grace. How much grace can be given, or like, you know, living with, I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense with like the legalism 100%. Side of things?
Yeah.
But I definitely live in that balance because I've seen it like abused, like even the drinking thing. Like we always go back on this where I always wrestle with it because I grew up a little bit more, I hate defining as legalistic because I don't think it was. Like, I think it was just probably a little bit more of a misunderstanding from my standpoint of like,
traditional or conservative or something.
I had to accept Jesus every Sunday night. I make that joke a lot, right? It's because I knew I had sinned during the week and I thought like maybe I lost that stuff, like Jesus didn't love me anymore. So I needed to get right? Those kind of things. But I think there's like that balance that just confuses people. Like you don't have a suit on when you walk into church. Well, does that mean Jesus doesn't love me as much as that? I don't know if we see that as much very often, but I think we also have like believers blinders on because we've been at believers for a while now.
So
and I think it's definitely like, but it is a thing. Like we've heard like Heather's tattoos and stuff. Like we've heard things like that where it's like, oh yeah, there's still some like lingering. People just have that, and that's okay to work through. Like that's okay to work through. Like I don't know. I feel like I'm talking in circles on that, but
no, you're not.
But I think that's what legalism is. It just kind of talks in circles about stuff.
It does, and you're right about being here. Like we can lose some of that because we had a friend who's not I don't think she's a believer, and so she came to church this past Sunday she's been here I think 2 or 3 times, which has been awesome.
Yeah.
But like the first couple of times she came, she says, can I wear this? Is my hair, do I have to do something different with that? And she has no experience with church at all, but she has seen things and heard things. Yeah. And that's what she comes in thinking, do I have to dress a certain way? I can't wear this. I have to talk a certain way. I can't be myself. And I was like, okay, it is still a real thing that people think coming in.
Yeah, I think even like when you are within a church family or church circles, some Christians, I think, even struggle with like, the way I pray are my prayers like it's a measuring up, right? So is my prayer measuring up to the way that Sam prays or the way that Tyler prays, or is even like around serving or being involved in things like that can become legalistic or like ways that we're trying to earn favor or salvation or those kinds of things. I'm in a class right now. It's a systematic theology class. But one of the guys in my class, it's been super interesting.
Like class,
one of the guys in my class this last week, we were talking about salvation, and he expressed kind of what he was discussing in the talk about, I am saved, I am being saved, I will be saved. Like those are the 3 phases that he's in with like working out his salvation, which we're called to do.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that is such a great way to view that, because I think when we start seeing other people that way and even ourselves that way, like, okay, I may have had like a moment where I like accepted what Christ did for me. Like I have a basic understanding of that. And so I want to follow after Christ. So I've made a salvation decision. And then, but like God is constantly saving me, like constantly saving me from myself and just the bad choices I'm making.
Right.
And then we will see that, like you were talking about heaven, that eternity with him, where we will collectively be saved from this side of heaven.
Yeah.
And so that to me, like we're in this legalistic talk is like, if we can keep that going in our head, then we can kind of start doing away with some of these, how can I do this thing?
Yeah, it's like it's how you see it. Like I think that's such a great explanation. But the thing about it is like when you fall into that, people will say like, well, then you're just like you get a free pass. Like it's that conversation. Well,
too much grace.
Yeah,
all that. Yeah.
And for me in my heart, like where that changed was I have no idea. It's like you, Tyler. I have no idea who said this or where it was. Could have been a conference or a message. But the idea that sorry, I lost my train of thought. When you fall into that, we have to cut that. I totally forgot what I was going to say.
Okay.
Sorry. Move on. Sorry, Jeremy.
No worries.
All right. So how have y'all seen those scenarios? Maybe this will help bring it back.
Yeah.
How have you seen the scenarios affect people's desire or willingness to engage in church or pursue a relationship with Jesus?
I think it makes you either you're like a quote unquote, I don't want to use that word. I'm thinking of rebel, or I think of a rule follower. That's the 2 words I come up with. Either you're good at, and there's all in between in those 2, but either you're a rule follower like I was, and so I could quote unquote on the outside do all the things, memorize all the Awana verses, come to church, make sure I'm serving, make sure I'm doing this thing, read my Bible, whatever. But because it was all about what I was doing, my relationship with Jesus was on the back burner. And that hurts to say, but that was what was true. And I think people see that, and someone who's not good at following the rules or a quote unquote rebel wants nothing to do with that. If I got to follow a bunch of rules to do this thing, I can't do that without like in the world. So how can I do that with Jesus?
Yeah.
He's God. Like what am I gonna do with that? They don't want anything to do with it. And I get it. Like it's impossible to do. And that's why. Because we needed Jesus to do it for us, you know.
Yeah, I think it's that shift in mindset where like I want to please Jesus in it. Like I don't want to just like make Tyler feel good about what I'm doing or like, oh wow, look at Sam, he's doing these things. It's a mind shift of like I want Jesus to like be happy with what I'm doing for him, because of not just like I get to do all these things and I can be covered in grace and all that stuff, but like Jesus, I want to do this because I want you to show up more in my life. Like I want the Holy Spirit to be so strong that it's like, that's the first thing I want to go after. It's not like, I just want to try to look good or be this like perfect person, that kind of thing. So I think like that's the shift in the mindset that we really need to do, instead of it being like, follow these rules so you get this, or be just covered in God's grace, that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it's grasping that Jesus is pleased with you because of who you are.
Right.
Yes.
Like because of who he created you to be. So no matter what you do, he is not more pleased with you than he is otherwise.
Yeah.
But like, when we are following in his, like what he's laid out for us, then we experience like even more of his blessing and fruit in our lives that then is showing other people. Yeah,
and not only that, like you set an example for how Jesus loves you.
Right.
Like you set that, and you don't even know like the decisions you make to be more like Jesus or to try to follow him, like that changes somebody else. Like they're like, wow, look at that. That draws them to Jesus. It's that whole like I just want to be the salt of the earth, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, that's good.
So you said, I am not saying that what we do doesn't matter, but what I am saying is that what we do can come from a place of grace and freedom. So how does being more concerned about outward appearance than inward transformation keep us in bondage?
Because people will always be looking at you. You'll always be held up to a standard that you can never meet. And so you will stay on this treadmill of trying to do all these things when God has already done it for you. And we can trust in him and live in that grace and freedom. And that is still, even for me today, so hard to do, to just let go, to just lay and just say, okay, God, you have done all the work for me. You love me. I'm your son. And now I can just walk with you, not to earn anything from you. You've already given it to me. And now I can just live in that peace and rest. It sounds so good in my ears, and I know I'm going to go out here and
Right.
get caught.
No,
It's
because it's just like, no, I have to do more. I have to do more. Because it's like nobody wants. It's difficult to receive a free gift.
It is.
Like just be like, thanks. And it almost feels selfish. Like it feels selfish to me. But it's like, no, that's what God's doing for you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hard.
It's incredible.
It really is.
So Philippians 3:9b through 11 seems to get us back on track. They feel a little bit like more joyful verses again. So we see a return of Paul's humility through verse 16. So how do we find balance in knowing that we won't fully arrive this side of heaven, yet continue to press on? Because that's kind of like what Sam was getting to a minute ago too, of like, so it's not, the legalism thing, the fear of it is if we don't have these rules and these safeguards in place, then people are just going to go on sinning sort of thing.
That's the fear.
So how do we strike that balance in knowing that we are not going to fully arrive, but also staying the course and following Jesus?
That is the balance. It's like the balance of, what is it, between, if you're talking to someone, giving them truth and grace. Like trying to follow that line, it is a balance. It just really is. And man, I'm trying to find the best way to say it, because when we think of pressing on, continuing, we think of working, which is not a bad thing. But where is it coming from in your heart? And I think, like Sam was saying, it just goes back to, where is your heart in this? Is it coming from a place of trying to please or earn or work to just, so God, you love me more, or is it from a place of freedom that you have a relationship that's never going to change? And so
I think work's a really good word, because you'd want to write it off and be like, I'm not trying to work for anything God's given me, because we can't, like you said, you can't earn it. But what we can work for is trying to be the examples. So it's like what I was saying, to be an example so that it draws people to Jesus. That's where the work is. Like, we're not working to try to earn more salvation or whatever. We're working and we're trying to be more like Jesus, so that when someone sees you, they're like, I want to be like that, because that's like Jesus. Like, that's what Jesus would do.
Yeah.
And I stumble over that constantly. I mean, good grief. Like I told me and Jeremy driving to work, it took me 15 minutes to get to work today, and I'm already angry and annoyed by everything. And it's like, that's definitely not what Jesus would do.
Right.
And if someone would have stopped and talked to me in traffic, I definitely would have been a light for Jesus. Like, that is the struggle. Like, that is the work that we have to put in.
Yeah. So what, kind of along those lines, what are some ways or maybe some signs that we can see in our lives that kind of encourage us and keep us going on this venture of a joyride? Like, what is it that we're like, okay, if I'm experiencing this, or I have this response to something, I need to keep heading in that direction.
I think, well, just personally, like even after Sunday, right? You preach, you do all this work and effort to be like, okay, I want to make sure this thing is good. I want to say all the things, whatever. I look back, I'm like, oh, didn't say that, didn't say this right. This didn't come off the best. But even so, now as I've progressed in my walk with Jesus, now I can say, okay, God, you love me. Nothing about what I did on that stage matters to you in the sense of my relationship with you. And you love me just the same before I got on the stage, just as much as you do after I left. And so for me, being able and trying to apply that to really everything. And I think that it doesn't work all the time. There are times when I beat myself up too much, and I'm regretting something I did, whatever, all that kind of stuff, and not trusting that God loves me no matter, I'm in his family no matter what. That kind of wavers and waffles. But as I've grown, as I've continued to press on, trying to look more like Jesus, that gets a little bit easier every day.
You see that a little more often.
Yeah, a little more often.
That's awesome.
I'm finding I'm way more like Jesus in my failures. That sounds weird.
No,
when I fail to be like Jesus, it's the next choice there. It's the next choice I have. That's where I'm finding myself, if I had to say, to be more like Jesus, because those are things that I would never want to do. If it's going back and asking for forgiveness, if it's mending a relationship, if it's even how you're taking on somebody that's kind of maybe attacking you or just throwing stuff at you, right? You might not respond how Jesus would the first time, but like the Holy Spirit conviction, how you choose that next thing, I think that's where it shows up for me. Is like, man, I would have never done that. So that has to be Jesus.
That's so good.
That's not me. Yeah. So hopefully it becomes the first reaction.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes it does, but then sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
So yeah, that's just kind of.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, guys. That's all we've got time for today. And until next time, we want to invite you to share this out on your social media feeds and then make plans to join us this coming Sunday as we continue our Joyride. Our services on campus are at 9 and 10:45, and then we'll be posting right here on YouTube at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Make sure to invite some friends to join you. We would love to have them be a part of all that God is doing around here at Believers. So until next time, we ask that you would go and be love.